Here's this week's Steam Code Raffle winner. I give a Steam code for a free game away with every video I do, and all you have to do to enter is leave a comment that wouldn't violate Twitter's terms of service. Make sure you have contact info in your YouTube profile so I can reach out to you. A complete list of games to choose from is in the description below. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a chance to win. Now on with the show. I'm playing something almost every week, and sometimes I want to talk about it and give you a vertical slice. So stick with me for some lightning reviews. This week on the chopping block. This week I've been playing Choo Choo Charles. One might ask, Gee, why are you playing this when there's so much big-ticket stuff coming out? Well, it's very simple. To phrase it like the kid from the ASDF movies,
I like trains.
Well, that's not the only reason. I don't recall how or when, but I remember coming across the 2-star YouTube channel made by the creator of Choo Choo Charles, Gavin Eisenbees. Side note, from what I understand, this individual has developed most of the game by himself, so this game has the aura of a solo developer about it. So, what is Choo Choo Charles?
Are you calling me?
I'm not referring to you right now, Charles.
You keep saying Charles, which is my name!
No, you idiot. The game is called Choo Choo Charles. You don't have a monopoly on that name.
What are you talking about?
Charles, you were explicitly created to be a strawman argument surrogate character when I was doing larger or more thought-provoking videos. This is just my weekly review thing. In fact, you know what? No, I'm done with this bit.
You can't silence me! In fact, wait a minute, what are you doing? Don't you dare press that button!
Anyway, if memory serves, this game started off as a meme. The premise is basically Thomas the Tank Engine, but evil. The story starts out with you going to help capture a mysterious creature for a display, the aforementioned Choo Choo Charles, what seems to me to be a man-eating spider demon occupying the old hull of a tank engine in the same manner that a hermit crab occupies a seashell. Upon your arrival, your business associate is killed and your quest immediately shifts from trying to subdue and capture the beast to killing it and survive. To do this, you're given access to a train which is then used to navigate the island on a narrow-gauge rail network. Now, one might think from the offset that this game is relying rather heavily on the train premise, but the design circulates so heavily around that not only from the eponymous villain aspect, but the gameplay as well. The train that you use as a vehicle for the story, combat, and exploration. Because everything circulates around it so heavily, after I started playing the game, I felt genuinely uneasy whenever I had to step away from it for a side quest. After speaking with a couple NPCs, you have the entirety of the context for the quest in order to bring Charles down, and then it's strictly a matter of navigating the island, acquiring resources, and snagging the necessary plot items. To aid this, you can upgrade your locomotive using scrap metal around the island, and once I realized how much more effective and safe I was with those upgrades to my engine, I think I finally understand what it feels like to be a dumpster diver with a ratty old pickup truck, because the only thing I cared about was scrap metal. Now, I don't know if I'm just the kind of individual that is willing to be immersed in the story so long as the premise makes enough sense within the context that it's presented, but I found myself drinking in the atmosphere after a while. Navigating the island while listening to the ambience of the rails clattering and hearing the rain and wind left me pretty on edge at times. And after a time, I grew to fear the ominous whistle of Charles on the horizon. And as I said before, I like trains.
But I don't like this train!
As I've mentioned prior, the train you're driving around facilitates combat, and this is through a mounted weapon on the back of the locomotive, and this is partly why I think I felt so unnerved by certain moments. Charles fights you on his terms, and his terms alone throughout most of the game. Your safety and only ability to defend yourself is locked to the machine that must stay on the rails, so if you can successfully deal enough damage to him, he'll go off and lick his wounds to try again later. And you better pray that you're within running distance of your locomotive while on a side quest, because if not, you can be thoroughly screwed over very quickly. The other dangers present to you are Charles-worshipping cultists wearing masks around the island. You usually have to stealth your way past these guys in order to acquire plot-necessary items to engage in the final battle, but these guys were also probably the single greatest source of frustration and amusement. The game doesn't seem to have any significant stealth mechanics other than just trying to move while they're not looking at you. However, so long as I stayed out of their line of sight, I could basically walk right behind them. On the other hand, if I even for a split second seemed to enter their line of sight through a crack in a wall, then it was instantly time to run back to the locomotive and hope they followed me enough so that I could gun them down using my caboose cannon. I feel like there's a lot to flesh out with mechanics and polish with these guys, but then I remembered this is almost a solo-developed project. I adjusted my expectations at the very start to reflect this, and with that compensation in mind, I can't say I was disappointed with most of my experience. Although after a while, my primary tactic for navigating the mines where I had to encounter cultists basically turned into me sprinting straight through in a mad dash regardless of how many cultists actually saw me, grabbing the item, and then booking it as fast as I can hoping that the autosaves had my back, which it is also worth noting that the autosave system in this game is very liberal. Additionally, I encountered a few things that I couldn't tell if they were bugs or just areas that were in need of more polish. For instance, when I was remapping the controls, I accidentally fat-fingered the escape key function and put it on the number 1 key, but for some reason, certain functions just did not accept that I was trying to lock them onto certain keys. Or it could have been the fact that I use a keyboard surrogate peripheral and it didn't play nice with the game. Another significant moment of game breaking occurred when I was doing my marathon through one of the MacGuffin mines, and given I was thoroughly fed up with the conga line of cultists that I acquired, I said screw it, and while I was running, I clicked on a treasure box to start the lock-picking minigame. Much to my surprise and amusement, I was able to complete the game without any physical interruption or damage to my health, but all the while I could hear cultists yelling and firing shots into the back of my head. Fortunately, what I experienced wasn't exactly game breaking, but it certainly damaged the immersion, which is a shame because I genuinely enjoyed my experience with Choo Choo Charles. The price tag of $20 admittedly might be asking a bit much for some. For full context, I beat it with 100% of the achievements over the course of a little over 3 hours, but from what I hear, the game is expected to be receiving more content, support, updates, and may even be getting some console ports in the future. 3 to 4 hours may also honestly be the perfect runtime for this game given the context of the mechanics provided in the world to explore, because too much longer and I think it would have started to outstay its welcome. Long story short, Choo Choo Charles is simultaneously hilarious, unnerving, charming, and rough around the edges. Given a couple more months of polish and content updates, I could see this game garnering the audience that I think it deserves. But then again, I could be entirely biased. After all, now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna see what I can get done now that I've remembered that my Charles has a mute button. Hey, look at that, it's the end of the video. Don't forget to subscribe and remember that commenting can actually win you a free prize. So until next time, this is Guillotine saying thanks for watching and keep your head on your shoulders.